Today we're beginning Parshat Metzora, which talks about the purification process of the Metzora, how he becomes purified. How he becomes purified. So first of all, we learned that this whole idea of Metzora, it's a very strange, Torah affliction, which comes as a result of certain sins. And it seems that it can also appear in non-Jews also, because there's the story of Naaman, the general of the army of Aram. That was supposed to be the Haftorah that we said last week, but because last week was also Parshat Para, and it was also Rosh Chodesh, so therefore we didn't read it. Okay. So in any case, this is a very strange Torah disease, and we're going to learn about it a little bit from the Kli Yakar. We'll read the Kli Yakar. In the Kli Yakar, Rabbi Lunchitz, and he wrote this commentary called the Kli Yakar about 400 years ago. So here it goes. God spoke to Moses, saying, Zoti, this is Torah Metzora, the law of the Metzora, of this afflicted person with Tzorat, the Yom Tarato, on the day that he becomes cleansed, made pure. And he must be brought to the Kohen. We'll just do a couple sentences and then we'll do the commentary. And he must be brought to the Kohen. The Kohen goes outside of the camp. Kohen, and the Kohen sees, and he sees that the impurity is gone. Okay, here it seems to be that there's a contradiction. First of all, it says that he has to be brought to the Kohen. And here it says that the Kohen goes out to him. The Kohen goes out to him. So who goes to where? Who's brought to who? Excuse me. Simple meaning is, we'll talk about it in a moment. Simple meaning is that this is the law of what to do to a person who's a Metzora. The day that he stops being a Metzora, the day that he is purified from his impurity. Now, remember, one of the things is about the Tzora, there's socially, he's ostracized, and also, as far as the Torah goes, he makes everything impure. If a Metzora is in the same room with vessels or people, all those vessels or people cannot go into the holy temple, and they can't touch consecrated things like truma and all other things. They can't touch them because they make them impure. And in addition, they have to live outside of the camp. They have to be separated from their wives, and they can't sit in any company, even in the company of other Metzoras. They can't all get together. They're not supposed to anyway, and live together. They're supposed to be totally separate. And this is condition remains until either the signs go away, and then that only starts the process. Then they have to bring a Kohen, and then the Kohen has to assure the fact that it really has gone away, and then he has to announce it. And then after that, he has to bring sacrifices to the temple, which you're going to see what the sacrifices are. So now, of course, there's no sacrifices. And also the sacrifices depend, we'll see, on if the person is hasn't got enough money, so they make consideration for him and they allow him to bring less sacrifices. But nevertheless, he has to bring sacrifices in order for him to be pure. Okay. So it says, this is the Torah of the Metzora, and the day he is purified, and he is brought to the Kohen. Let's do the second. So the Kli Yakar says the whole thing doesn't seem to be very clear exactly what's happening. If he's a Metzora, it should have said this is the law of purifying the Metzora. What does it say? The Metzora on the day that he is pured, that he is pure, right? That he is made pure. I mean, he's not pure yet. B'yom ta'arato, he's not made pure. So it should have said this is the law of how to make a Metzora pure. Or you should say this is the law of the purity of one who was a Metzora. But we can't see he is now a Metzora. Okay. Anyway, so the Kli Yakar explains something interesting. First of all, let's do Rashi. Zos Torah, that's a Metzora, says Rashi, Malamed, this teaches us, She'ein metarin oto b'layla. You can't do this whole process in the nighttime. It has to be done in the daytime. Ramban says he has to be brought to the Kohen. V'yomer shetiyeh zot Torah. The Kohen will say that this is the law of the Metzora on the day that he wants to purify himself, not on the day that he is pure, the day that he wants to purify himself. Then he has to be brought into the Kohen. What does it mean? She'ein lo tahara, he can never be pure again. Ella al piv, only according to the Kohen. It has to have a Kohen. A Kohen must declare him impure and pure. But if there's not a Kohen, even if there's the biggest genius rabbis that know all the laws, and you can see clearly that all of the signs of impurity go away, it doesn't make any difference. He's impure until a Kohen. Then it says that the Kohen goes out to the place where he is outside of the camp. And he doesn't come to the Kohen, even though even though that he is already healed. But there's a midrash in the Torah Kohanim. What exactly does it mean? What it's saying is that the Kohen doesn't come out to him every day and say to him, how are things going? Let me check up. No, he checks himself. As soon as he sees that everything has gone away, then he brings a Kohen. And if the Kohen doesn't know the laws very well, the Kohen brings an expert along with him. And only the Kohen can declare if he's pure. Uval Kohen. What is it? Another meaning of it means, what does it mean that he will be brought to the Kohen? Here it says he'll be brought to the Kohen means, and the Kohen doesn't come out to him to check on him all the time. Second meaning is, or maybe it's the same meaning, Shalu Yeshaheh, that he shouldn't delay. He has to be brought to the Kohen. Even if he says, listen, I sort of enjoy it out here. I'm far away from everybody. People aren't bothering me. Says, no, he's brought even by force. Right? As soon as this, so there must be other people that come and check up on him to see if he's pure or not. The im if so yomar ki beyom yitarer, the day that he becomes purified, namely that he gets healed, yoval Kohen, he should be brought against his will to the Kohen. Is also another place where we talk about the zav. That's going to be talked about also here in this Torah portion. A zav is another type of impurity, but the zav at least has some sort of a vague connection to the person. It's an emission that comes from the person's body, so that person is declared impure. The im Torah mizovo. Like I said. So he's trying to explain what seems to be the apparent contradiction, that it says he's brought to the Kohen, and here it says that the Kohen comes to him. The Kohen comes to him. Some people say that what it means is he has to be outside of the camp, and that he is brought right to the border, and that the Kohen comes to see him on the border. Rabbi Lunshitz in the Kli Yakar, he asked the same basic question, and he explains, like I explained before, Parshas Tazria, Shatzarat, that this affliction, this spiritual impurity, comes because of sins. The Shem HaMakah, and the name of this affliction, called Tzarat, and the name of the person who has this affliction, Metzora, indicate what the sin is. Kilasha Metzora is Motze Ra. What does it mean, Motze Ra? That it brings out all of the bad which is considered inside of it, outside. Lagalos Rato, it reveals the person's evil, the kahal, in the congregation. The Shem Tzorat, the Shem Tzorat, the name Tzorat, is Lashon Tzora Ra. What does it mean? Ra Shehi Kitzora, that it is bad, which is like an affliction, comes out. Like it says, Umotzi'u Ra, Ra'os, like they will come to you. Ra'os Rabos V'tzoros, one of the curses that is given to the Jews in, what is it, Parshas Kitavo, if they curse. She'em Katzorot. No, anyway, Tzorot Zulazu. They are Rabot, many, one after the other. Kamo Zibura V'akrava, different types of diseases, whatever. But this, there's no healing b'derech hateva. L'tzorazu ve'en trufa b'derech hateva. You can't find this. The disease is not natural, and the healing is not natural. To tell you that Yad Hashem asazos, that it's the hand of God that made this. But Tzorat Naaman Yochiach, and the Tzorat that was on this. The chief general of the army of Aram, he had to come to the prophet, what's it called? Elisha. Elio, they call, what does he call him in English? Elijah, that's Elijah. And this is Elisha. Oh, anyway, so he came to Elisha. And Elisha, the prophet, he healed him. But he said that he went to all of the wise men and all the doctors in the time, they couldn't heal him. If so, when a person has this weird discoloration of his skin, and it's accompanied by like a depression and feeling bad, so therefore he takes it to mind that this obviously is coming from his sins. The nega, this nega is the name of a sin. Shu nogea b'kavod shemayim, namely nogea. He is like nug of a pugger. He, how do you say, blemished. He blemished the honor of God, so to speak. Or he negated. He blemished the honor of people. He said bad things about people. He separated people with his words. And this tzaras, this forced him that he has to go to the Kohen and to request from him some sort of a healing. What type of a healing? There's no medicine that can cure this. There's no treatment that can cure it. So it only comes because of sins. So that's what the cause of the disease is the selfishness, is egotism. So he has to go to the Kohen to understand how to minimize or to correct his egotism. Because if he would have gone in the beginning to the Kohen to request from the Kohen Torah Mesivsei Kohen teachings and learnings on how to improve his ways, that he would be one of the pupils, like it's of Aaron, he should love peace, run after peace. and not to put contention between other people. What does he do? He spells lashon hara. What's lashon hara? He goes up to one person. He says, Shmerel is a liar. Then he goes up to Beryl and he says, you know what Shmerel just said about you? He said that you're a liar. Then he goes back to Beryl again. And he says that Beryl said to Shmerel. And he goes around to telling people bad things about other people. This guy you can't trust. And this person, he lied to someone else. Obviously can't. And this person they did a sin in quiet. He lets everybody know. Now they have these newspapers that do the same thing. It says that back then it used to be that by revealing the bad of others, as a person would get punished. But incidentally, what's so bad about saying bad things about other people? So what? Say whatever you want to. It'll come out in the end, won't it? Says no, it's not that bad. First of all, lashon hara is even if you say true things about a person. Technically, that's the meaning of lashon hara. It's only true things. If a person says things that are lies about someone, that's called motzi shema. That's even worse. You give a person a false reputation. But here, you advertise the bad that's in the other person. What's wrong with that? It says what's wrong with that is that it's like making a decision. If there's other people that agree with you, so it's like making a legal decision that this person is a liar, a cheat, a thief, he's lazy, he's whatever bad things you can think about a person, and you're like making a decision on this person that, so to speak, it makes him very difficult for that person to correct himself. Because the decision already been made. He's already been sentenced to be guilty because of the things that you said and you spread and people agreed to about him. So therefore, the purpose is not to reveal other people's bad, but to get them to do good. So if you see somebody that's doing something bad, then you have to get to that person somehow or other. You write them a note, however, a secret note, and tell them, listen, you're stealing, you're lying, you're cheating. You should stop it. Or tell the person to his face, but in a nice way. If you can't listen, you should stop doing what you're doing. Okay. In any case, for the punishment for speaking, using your mouth and your tongue and your lips and etc., which are God-given gifts, and using them to do exactly the opposite of what God wants. So therefore, there is a punishment. But really, it's not a punishment at all. It's actually a benefit to the person. It's coming out to the person. It's like a person puts his hand in fire, so it burns. It's not a punishment. Putting your hand in fire, it burns. It's an automatic reaction. And it's a good thing, because if it didn't burn, it would just leave his hand there, right? Leave his hand there. It wouldn't pain him. It would just leave it. It could burn his whole hand off. It could burn his whole body up. So because there's this pain and the whatever, so therefore shows him not to do it again. It's a if you want to call it an immediate reaction, immediate result. This is therefore he has to come to the Kohen, because he should have come to the Kohen in the beginning. The Kohen would teach him how to act like a normal person instead of acting like a destructive animal. That's what it says. This is the day of this is the law of the Metzora on the day that he is refined, because the day that he changes his mind, that he wants to have a pure heart and think only good things about others and about God, and he accepts on himself to repent and not to speak bad things about people anymore. That's what it means that he will be brought to the Kohen, Huvah. Doesn't mean you have to, he says, this is what the Cleopas says, doesn't mean he has to be brought there. He's talking about physically changing one place, but it's talking about that his heart brings him to move from bad, that he was in it, selfishness, to good. He accepts on himself that he's going to, from now on, learn Torah and try to be a better person. That's what it says. This will be Torah Metzora, right? This will be the Torah, means the law, but it means the Torah. By means of the Torah, he is cured. We learned the same thing pretty much in Chassidut. This comes to tell you because The tsaros comes because he was keeping himself away from the Torah, and the Torah brought him back. Now, yeah, of course, nowadays, God is merciful. People could have all these bad things happen to them, and nobody does tshuva. So God gives free gifts nowadays. There's no more death from heaven or beams of fire that come down, etc. Because if so, I don't know if anybody would be left alive, because everybody has, certain moments when they say, or think, or do things that they regret afterwards. So nowadays, the main thing is the regret. If a person realizes what he's doing wrong and he regrets, so God forgives everything. Nowadays, everything is forgiven. Okay. The Kohen goes outside of the camp, and the Kohen sees, and here it's healed. The person is healed up. It says, what does it mean goes outside of the camp? It says Rashi, chutz shlosh machanot. He goes outside of the 3 camps. Shenishlechu b'yamei chaluta. He sent there in the days that he was pure. There's the one camp is where the Beit HaMikdash is, and the other one is where the Levites camp around that, and there was everybody else camps. That was when they were in the desert, so he has to go outside of the 3 camps. Here it means that they sent them outside of Jerusalem. A person would have to live somewhere outside of Jerusalem, couldn't come into Jerusalem. So the Kohen would go out as soon as he got word that this person was healed, he would go out to that person. The Kohen would command, and he'd say, first of all, he saw all the signs of this tzorat left this person. Right? They left. There's no more white, there's no more hairs, or it's spread over his whole body. That's also another sign of purity. But in any case, all the signs of purity are there. The signs of impurity are gone. But Siva Kohen, the Kohen commands, and he takes for this mitayer, means the one who is becoming cured, shtei tziporim chayot, 2 birds, taharot. Doesn't make a difference what type of birds, pigeons, doves, things that are permissible to the holy temple. The doves and pigeons, basically, that's all there is permissible. The 8 eras, shnei tolaz ve'ezov, and he takes a piece of wood from a very, very high tree, cedar tree. V'shni tolat, and he takes a red-colored, shni tolat is the color. It's a red-colored, brightly red-colored strip of wool, and it says that they pull the wool, it makes it long like a tongue. So, because to remind him of his tongue. 8 arrows because of haughtiness, and Azov is a very low bush, very low. He has to take these birds. What does it mean, birds? He has to take birds that are chayos, that are alive. What does it mean, live? Can't take dead ones. Of course, it means to exclude trephos, birds that have something wrong with them. If there's a hole in the lungs, hole in the head, they have to be torot. This eliminates any not permissible bird to eat. Because the negaim come from lashon hara, from damaging speech. This is like a person that is, how do you say, chattering around, chattering. Therefore, he had to have birds in order to remind them. The birds are always chirping and whatever it is, speaking with tzif called. So it's also the same thing with people. They talk to each other and say negative things about others. Also, you have to take 8 eras, because they come because of a haughty spirit. A person is haughty, wakes up in the morning, he thinks, wow, is God lucky that I'm alive? I can do whatever I want to. I'll do whatever I want. No one's going to stop me. No one can. And what's the proof? Here, I did it. I can do whatever I want. Right? I can say what I want, do what I want. That's called gasot ruach. Shnei tolat ve'ezov. Ma tekanato v'yitrapeh. How can a person be fixed up and healed? Yashpil atzmei b'gavoto. He has to cast himself down, humble himself. Katolat, like he says, tolat, like a worm, okay, azov, and like actually the word tolat Shni tolat means like a strip of wool. Some people say it only means the color. It really has nothing to do with a worm, but it means that they stretch the strands of wool out long, so that it's long. It's like a worm, if you want to say. Also, it says a worm's power is in his mouth, and also the Jewish people, their power is in their mouth for good or for bad. There's a sentence in Mishlei in Proverbs, "Amavet v'achayim biyad lashon." So death and life are in the hands of the tongue. A person can say one word, and they can just wreck his whole life. He can say one good word, he can make his whole life, right? Say the right thing, answer. Kotolat ve'izov. 8 errors. It's 8 errors. It's a makel. It's a stick of errors from a cedar tree. V'shni tolat. It says it's a lushan shel tzemer. It's a strip of wool, savua, and it is colored zehorit. Zorit means red. I don't know how zorit means red, but that's what it means, red. Here we said above in Parshas Tazria, I explained that this disease, this affliction, spiritual affliction, comes on 3 sins. Again, the Kli Yakar. What are the 3 sins? They are hinted at in this portion. They are Lashon Hora, Gasat Ruach, V'chemdat HaMamon. And he says the third one, the third sin is, he only talked about really 2 of them before this, but also lust for money. People go pretty crazy for money. Huh? I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I've seen it. People go, they just go berserk. When more money is concerned, there's no God. We can say that the birds, they have these 3 qualities, these 3 tendencies, what is it, natures, and that indicates these 3 sins. Lashon Hora, saying damaging words, speaking lefi she'osim ma'aseh petit, they're always talking. Gasat ruach, what's gasat ruach? Means haughtiness. Ola lamayla, they go up high like a bird, it flies up. Chemdat mamon, and desiring money. It says in Mishlei, like I just finished telling the Proverbs, another sentence in Proverbs, it says, Al tigal ashir, the ashir. Don't work so hard to become rich. Ki asa yaselo, kind of find, because it could be that one day the money will take wing, kanesher, like a eagle, the oaf hashamayim, and like the birds of the heaven. All of a sudden you wake up in the morning and you have 0 in your bank account. It could be you don't have any bank at all. You can't bank whatsoever. Well, the fish are roba maforshim hirichu le manitam beparsha zu benyin chet lashnora. A lot of them talk about, like we see Rashi talked about, that the main sin is the one of damaging speech. But ozev gamayne, I'll also talk lekach tov and say some lessons about right, the 3 that are the 3 announcements that are made, 3 announcements that we find that speak about not speaking Lashon Hora. I want to see, let's do one story. Masha Maskeh Midrash, it says, Maisa Barochel, once there was a salesman. Shoya Machzir Ba'eros, he would go from one city to another. Asimuchos, Litzipori, to whatever, Tzipori, a city. Voya Machri is Omer, Man boy, Lamizban, Samachaim. Who wants to buy the elixir of life? Odi Kalea Alma, came a young woman. Perish Baal Matanos Kohuna. What does it mean? Hibito Acharav Milashon Hibito Acharai. Like it says Moshe. Okay. It says Raviane Havi Yasev Upashit Betrak Line. Said Ta Sak lahacha zavin li. And he said, okay, come over here and sell it to me. Omer le, leis at tzarich v'lo kenvotach. You don't need it, and you don't need anything like it. Etrach ale salik lagabe hotzi lo sefer tehillim. So he took out the book. He went to him, and I guess he insisted. He took out the book of Psalms, Makorach, Harelo, and he showed him a sentence. Mi aish chafetz chaim, who wants life? Netzur l'shachem ra. Said, you want life? I'm selling a life. You want life? Said, here it is. In Tehillim, in Psalms, it says, Psalm 34. Who is a person that loves life? Guard your tongue from saying anything bad. Omer Rav Yonai, said Rav Yonai, also King Solomon, Machris, he said, same thing. What did he say in Proverbs? Shalom piv v'lashono shomer mitzurat nafsho. A person who guards his tongue and his mouth, he will guard from any bad afflictions coming to himself. Shomer mitzurat nafsho. It also means he'll keep from mitzurat nafsho, not just tzorot, but bad things, but also from tzorat. Omer Rav Yonai, said Rav Yonai, all my life I would read this sentence. I've read the sentence, v'lo iti yodea, and I didn't know exactly what it meant until Shabo Rochel said, until the salesman came. And he let me know. In other words, what does it mean you want life? Guard your mouth. Don't say bad things about people, no matter who. Therefore, Moshe Mazir Yisrael, Moses, warned the Jewish people, Zos Torah Tamatzora, Motze Ra. Okay, let's do one more. Let's do one more. That's the second one. There's a third one also. In the tractate of Avodah Zarah, it says, Machris Rav Alexandri. Rav Alexandri, Rabbi Alexandri, that was his name. He would announce, Man boy chai. Who wants life? Who wants life? Kenifu le kuli alma. A lot of people gathered around him. V'asu legabe. They gathered and they came close to him. Omer le, they said to him, Havlan chai, you're a big rabbi. We want life. Omer le, mi aisha chafetz chaim. We brought the same sentences we had from here, from Psalms, from 34 in Psalms. Who is the man who guards his tongue from bad? Shema yomer adam hayol min nitzarti l'shoni mira elech ve'agra b'shina. If so, I protected myself. Maybe I'll just go to sleep. I'll just go to sleep. I won't say anything bad, and that's good. It says no. Somi rabba hasei tov. Yeah, it's not good enough to bad just to turn from bad. You have to also do good. Tov v'latorah. Etc. Okay, good. So that shows you have to watch your tongue from saying bad things. He goes to the Kohen. He takes these two birds. V'shachat v'tziva Kohen. V'shachat the tziporni. He kills one of the birds. Al kli cheres al mayim chayim. He takes a clay vessel, puts in it water that comes from a living well, living water. From like what is it called, a mayan, a spring of living water that comes from the ground, doesn't stop, and he slaughters the bird and he puts the blood on this water, and the living bird, he takes it and the eitz eres, this stick of cedar wood, and the shnitzolat, and the strip of red wool and the azov, and he dips them with the living bird in the blood of the slaughtered bird in the water, puts them all in it. What does it mean? He doesn't tie them all together, but he separates each one. I don't know, but the wood, the piece of wood, and the hyssop, whatever is the low tree and the high tree, he ties them up with the zohorit. but he lets the bird, he doesn't tie the bird together with this bush and the stick. He ties the bush and the stick together with the strip of wool that he strips, and the bird is separate, but he puts them all, dunks them all into the water. At the 8 areas with the shnei utlat v'edezov, takes one for all three. You might think just like you might think that just like the bird is not bound up together, also the bird is not dunked in the blood of the first bird in water. You should dip them, namely these three things, the bush and the stick with the wool tied around it, and the bird also. The bird also, if the then you take from this blood, from the slaughtered bird and the water, you take from the blood and the water, and you sprinkle on the person that's coming to be purified 7 times. Then you throw the bird, you let the bird go onto the face of into the field. Let him go, free. The bird, throw him away. Then he washes his garments, puts them in the mikveh, and then you shave off all of his hair. And he washes, and then he himself immerses in the mikveh. And after he can come to the camp and go back to his people, right? But he has to be outside of his tent for 7 days. What does it mean outside of his tent? He cannot have marital relations with his wife for 7 days. And then on the 7th day, then again, they cut off all of his hair. This means every place that there is hair, but it's visible. To eliminate, like they don't have to cut off the hair inside of his nostrils, for instance, or in any hidden places, armpits. And on the 7th day, then he cuts off all the rest of the hair, shaves off all the rest of the hair, his head, his beard, his eyebrows, all of his hair. And he, again, immerses his garments. He himself goes to the mikveh and he's pure. And now he has to bring sacrifices. On the 8th day, he takes 3 sheep, 2 shtei kavasim tamimim, 2 male sheep. Keves is less than 1 year old. Sheep that's less than 1 year old. Tamimim, the kavsa achat, and a feminine sheep that's also about shanata, only 1 year old. There's what's called an ayil, but an ayil is like in the 2nd year, 30 days into the 2nd year, until the end of the 2nd year. That's called ayil. In any case, here he takes 3 sheep, 2 males, 1 female, and 3 units of meal, mincha belul b'shaman, and oil, and then he is soaked in oil, and he also takes 1 unit of oil. And then there's a whole process that he goes to. The Kohen takes the person, and in front of God, Pesach Ohel Moed, and in the entrance of the Ohel Moed, and the Kohen takes this one of the male sheep, and he sacrifices for an asham offering, a sin offering, and the shemen, and he does tenufa in front of God. He lifts them up in front of God. What does it mean, lifts them? At the asham betalog, the meat from the slaughtered sheep and the vial of oil, he lifts them up in front of God. And we'll talk about this more, the whole process, God willing, more tomorrow. Have a good day with Mashiach now. Hope to see you at 8:15 tomorrow morning.